Hi everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk about the journey to paying off my mortgage. What I would like to do is show you guys the process as I'm tracking down the paying off of my mortgage. And this is mostly in part to motivating myself, self-motivation, accountability, and maybe others will find inspiration in this journey too. But before we start showing what I'm doing now, I feel like I want to tell you the process of where I am in my mortgage and where I started in my mortgage, okay? In doing this, I actually went back through all my paperwork and dug up my old files, and I found some of my original paperwork. So let's talk about it. In other videos, you've heard me talk about my mortgage and what I owe and what I paid and what I started out with. Well, guess what? When you pull up receipts, you actually find that some of that may not have been quite accurate. So we're going to correct those things right now. I purchased my home new. I started the journey in 2008. My house was finished construction in March of 2009, and that is when I closed on the loan. Right here, as we see in the truth in lending paperwork, I borrowed $527,501.09. And what this also shows you is that I borrowed it at an interest rate of 5.5. On the other paperwork is round down to 5.5%. When I tell the story, I always say that the interest rate was 4.5, but turns out it was actually 5.5, and I totally forgot that. This was still a good interest rate for me because those of you who are kind of familiar with the story, I said that my credit score at this point in time was in the low 500s. I couldn't find a bank to lend me the money, and finally I did find two banks that were willing to lend me the money, and the interest rate started at as high as 11%, and between the two they kept going down until I finally closed at this 5.5%. I believe what it was, why I always say it was like around 4.5, is because the last bank actually went down to the fours, but I was out of time and I had to close because I kept pushing off the closing date. So this is what it was, 5.5%. And with that interest rate, we see that it would have been an additional $573,000 in interest, making the grand total over $1 million had I stuck with this plan, paying the mortgage as they designed for me to pay it. And we also see that had I stuck with this original agreement, my house would have been paid off in March of 2039. And with that, I would have been the tender age of 63 years old by the time this mortgage was paid off. I wasn't thinking about any of that when I closed on this house. I was just like, hey, can I afford the payments? Let's look at the payments. With the hazard insurance and property taxes added, my mortgage payment at this point in time was $3,642.40 a month. Somewhere between here and there, I refinanced. I don't have the paperwork of that refinance here with us, so I think I have the paperwork of the next refinance because I refinanced this property a number of times. So on the refinance that I have here, we see that I refinanced a little over $545,000 at an interest rate of 3.5%. Now, mind you, I originally borrowed $527,000, and somewhere I'm telling you, and this is what I was not thinking about, with the refinance, the closing costs and all of that stuff is added to the price of the home, of the price of the loan, of what you're borrowing. I didn't think of any of that, but I refinanced for 3.5% interest rate. And I know that there were other refinances done between here because it shows you the comparison between the old loan, which was a 4% interest rate, Mind you, remember this one was a 5.5. So this old loan was a 4% interest rate, and I refinanced for 3.5% interest rate. And that brought my monthly payment down to this $3,131 a month. And it made it so that at the end of the loan, I would have paid $879,000, almost $880,000 on this house had I stuck with this plan. And with this refinance, I was going to pay this house off by July of 2042. Okay, but we're not done. I refinanced again, and in this refinance, I looks like I borrowed a little over $543,000 at an interest rate of 3.25, and this is what I currently have. And I did this one in May of 2013. This one was done in October of 2012. So obviously, I don't know, the refinance bug bit me. And when I was doing this, I was thinking, oh, you know, when you refinance, you usually don't have to pay 2 months of mortgage, and you don't have to bring anything to closing. And it just sounded like a really good deal. And I was not looking at the bigger picture, because the bigger picture was, even if I had chosen to refinance, I should have still paid the mortgages, and I should have applied anything that I thought I was saving right back on that mortgage to bring that principal down. But I did not do any of that. So with this refinance at 3.25, borrowing a little over $543,000, I would, at the end of this loan, have ultimately paid a little over $852,000 for this house. Okay. And on this one, it has the payoff date as June of 2043. And this is why I'm motivated to pay off this mortgage. Because when I look at these numbers, I'm like, you know what? They did a Jedi mind trick, and they got me simply because I was not willing to be aware, and I did not ultimately educate myself on the process of not just buying a home, but what actually happens when you choose to refinance a home. So where am I now? So with the home, according to the last refinance, it has the payoff as being in June of 2043. That will be 25 years and 2 months from now. I will be 67 years old at that point in time. And to me, this is super, super, super unacceptable, because I feel to properly retire, you should have a paid off home. When I started this journey to pay off my mortgage, to work on paying down my mortgage in January of 2018, I got it down to 23 years and 8 months. I would still be 65 years old at that time. Where I currently am now is I got it down to 22 years and 10 months, still 65 years old. And remember, my original loan, I would have had 21 more years to go, and I would have been 63 years old. So right now I'm racing just to catch up first. And then after I catch up, and catching up means getting back to at least this again. After I catch up, I then want to conquer. Many of you know that I am currently debt free. I do not owe anything except for my mortgage. So what this means is that I have a lot of cash left over at the end of the month that I can apply toward this goal. But where I've been wavering a little is the idea of paying off my mortgage and saving money, because I still owe a lot on my mortgage. And I think the problem is sometimes when you owe a huge amount on a bill, like for me, I owe over almost $500,000 on my mortgage, it can feel kind of overwhelming, and it can feel kind of like this thing is never going to get paid off. So why not apply money in other areas that feel more conquerable and doable than this? But now that I looked at those numbers, and I looked at like where I started and where I am and how I actually went backwards, even though I got a better interest rate, I'm like, I messed up. Okay, so on this last payment I made a payment of $8,100.13. Okay, out of that money, $687 went to escrow for my taxes, and $1,257 went to interest. The rest went to the principal of the mortgage. What I'm going to do now is update or show you guys my charts. I have a chart that I color in as I pay off my mortgage, and what each colored block represents is $1,000. Once all of these things are colored in, that meant that I paid $512,000. And then also I'm going to color, for the first time, I'm going to color my amortization chart. I've never colored this before. I had it printed out, but we're now going to color this to where we are now. Okay, so this is starting from January, and I am going to catch us up to where we are today. Many of you know, not only do I factor in the extra amount that I'm going to pay in on my mortgage, but what I also try to do is whatever I do have left over at the end of the month in my budget, I try to throw that at my mortgage too. And sometimes I throw a big amount at savings too, because like I said, I go back and forth on my priority with this. Currently, I owe $458,027 and some change. So I am right here. This is where I currently am. So I am currently up to February 2019. That's how much I paid in additional principal on my mortgage. So it's as if to say, if this was any regular loan, I wouldn't have another payment due until February 2019 if this was like a traditional loan. But of course, that's not true with your mortgage. You still have to make your monthly mortgage payments, which I will. And right now, my goal, one of my benchmark goals, to get around this 9th payment down here. If I stay according to plan by this 9th payment down here, I will then officially start paying more on my principal than what goes to interest. So that is going to be exciting. Somewhere around here is going to be our first benchmark goal. So that's where we are. So again, the updates from here on out will be me highlighting and updating this chart, as well as me coloring this chart. We're not going to color this in today because I realized I didn't bring my my pens, the color pens that I used to do this one. So that's what will be happening from here on out as we work to pay off 512, but now it's $458,000 to freedom. This is me. Thank you all for watching. This was a little disjointed and all over the place, I feel, but I was doing the best that I can to tell this story and catch you guys up to where I was and where I am. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you would like, I will appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want, subscribe to continue following this journey and hit the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I release a new video. Until next time, bye guys.